Hello everyone, welcome to the Amateur Hunting channel. My name's Mateus and we're going to be going hunting here for some snowshoe hares out here in Innisfil, Alberta. Temperature today is actually not that bad. It's close to minus 20 comparatively speaking to the rest of this week. So for hare hunting today, I've got my trusty 22. It's my Ruger 1022 here, and I've made a few modifications to it. So one of the things I like the most about it is the stock. It's completely adjustable. So I like it because if you have the fully extended stock, it really helps for long range shooting. Whereas if you keep it more closer, it's better when you're hunting through the woods. You spot a rabbit, you can make a quick shot, get it up in your shoulder. Got a red dot sight here. It's got about 4 different settings for it. I prefer it on the bigger red dot. It works really well. Basically, when this thing's sighted and you see a rabbit, it's gone. Got a foregrip installed on it and a sling. So the foregrip definitely helps a lot, especially with fatigue. When you're holding it like this, it really can aggravate your wrist if you're out there for a few hours. So having this foregrip feels more natural in your hands and it helps with fatigue. And then the last thing I have in here is in the back of the stock, there's actually a spare place for 2 magazines. So what I usually do is when I'm going hunting, I usually have the 1 magazine here. Then I have 2 backups just in case. So realistically, you don't need 30 rounds. We're not going to go for 30 rabbits here today. Not going to happen. But it's always good to have a little extra ammunition in case you go hunting. So yeah, that's the gear setup when it comes to the firearms. And of course, whenever you go hunting, it's always good to have a backpack as well. So for me, I usually just carry around just a few essentials in this backpack here of mine. Usually it's only going to be maybe just some emergency supplies. I won't go into too much detail. I might do a breakdown video later on of all the stuff. But just in case if you get stuck out in the woods, you don't want to be without a few things. And I've always lived my life by a motto of it's better to have it, not need it, than to need it, not have it. So that's kind of philosophy that I have whenever I'm in the outdoors, whether that be hunting, fishing, hiking, camping, you name it. And then one of the other things that many hunters overlook, especially when you're outside for a few hours, water. So I got my camel bag here full of water, and that'll keep me hydrated the whole time. Because even though it's minus 20, the trick that I do is I usually keep it tucked in underneath my jacket here. So it usually prevents it from freezing. So that's the kit. So while we go into the woods, I just recently cleaned my firearm, so I had to take the scope off. So we're going to spend about a half an hour or so, maybe not that much, sighting it in, making sure that when I took it off and put it back on, the sights aren't too bad. And then hopefully today we can bag ourselves some snowshoe hares. Let's get started. Definitely glad I decided to go through with a range session. As you can see, low and to the left. So let's get that adjusted. Take a few more shots and see where that takes us. Okay. Let's take a few more shots with these new sight adjustments. Let's see how we can make it better. All right, here we go. That's it for the mag. 5 shots. Load it up with the new one. And it looks like pretty well bang on, folks. It's pretty good. It's one thing I like about this target that I got from Canadian Tire is that whenever you have an impact, it turns orange. So even though you may be standing a bit of a distance from the range, you can still see where your shots land, approximately anyways. And then once you get closer, you can definitely make those fine-tuned adjustments. But definitely a handy target. Can't remember the actual name of them from Canadian Tire, but I can tell you that they should be available at pretty much any Canadian Tire. So and yeah, it looks like actually I made the adjustments up, which worked. It just needs to be making a click or two to the right. There's the bottom there, bottom left, and there you go. Just a small cluster off to the left. All right, I think a couple more adjustments and we're going to be heading out to bag ourselves some snowshoe hares today. Not bad for your final cluster. Definitely pulled that last shot though. Don't try and rush this kind of thing, man. Definitely got to take your time. As soon as you start rushing, you're going to have stupid pull shots like that. So, but as you can see, that's where we started. Here's the first adjustment, second adjustment, and there's our final adjustment. So I'd say we did a pretty good job. So now it's time to head back to the car, pack this up and then we'll get started tracking and finding ourselves some hares today. All right, now we're heading in here. So there's a few things that you want to keep in mind when you're trying to go for small game like hares. One of those things is scoping out the area first. So I've been to this area now quite a few times, too many to count. So I got a pretty good idea on where most of the hares are going to be found. But if you're going to an area for the first time, you really want to take a chance to not so much try and look for animals, but look more for animal signs. So as I'm hiking in here, I don't usually see too much rabbit activity near the road. In fact, most of the tracks here, they're going to be all deer tracks. And I also think some of them might be moose. I've seen some moose activity here as well. But today, our main focus is going to be for snowshoe hare. So when you're going out, there's three things that I usually look for when I'm trying to identify an area. One of them is going to be poop and pee, obviously. If you see any signs of poop, you're in a pretty good area. I mean, rabbits, geez, they poop a lot. So you're usually going to see quite a bit of it. And if you do, you know you're in a good area. And then obviously pee. Pee is definitely something where it's very small. And if you can see that, usually a pretty good indicator that they're close by. Because most of the time if there's any wind, the blowing snow will just cover it up and you won't even notice. And then second thing, obviously tracks, pretty obvious. When you're looking at tracks, you have to keep in mind that just because you see tracks, it doesn't mean that there's rabbits close by. Tracks don't mean that. So when you're looking at tracks, you do want to see a higher concentration of tracks. And hopefully they're going in more than one direction. Because they're only going in one direction, it could be just a rabbit navigating its way through its habitat. So when it comes to tracks, you really want to pay attention to if there's more concentration. And the last thing is going to be eating. Generally speaking, in the wintertime, the hares are usually going to go for small trees, and they're going to chew the bark off. So right now we're kind of getting into an area where I've seen some rabbit activity, but I haven't actually seen any hares in this specific spot yet. So once I find some more examples of what I'm talking about when it comes to what it looks like if a rabbit's been eating, as well as the tracks, I'll switch the camera around for you guys. Let's take a look. I'm not sure if you guys may have noticed or not, but we've had a pretty fresh blanket of snow. And that really helps, especially when you're tracking small game. Because if you go into an area, sometimes it can be hard to distinguish old tracks from new ones. So when you have this fresh snowfall, it definitely helps. And that's why I'm hunting here today. It's just so much easier to track animals in the wintertime. Plus, come on, who doesn't like a walk in the woods, man? I mean, seriously, it's gorgeous out here. It could be warmer, but it definitely looks great. Lots of deer tracks around here. In fact, it was actually it was last week. Just in those trees over there, saw a nice whitetail pop its head out. Too bad whitetail season's over in Alberta. Had a clear shot and everything. So for those of you who are watching who are amateur hunters like myself, one of the things that you really got to practice and train is looking for movement, like any movement of any kind. Because once you see that movement, that's when you can start really tracking these animals. We're actually getting pretty close to my first area today. Not there yet. Still haven't seen too many fresh rabbit tracks either. Oh, there's some more deer tracks going through here. Still not a lot of rabbit. Usually I see something by now. Okay. So the thing about rabbits is that they really like thick brush, especially snowshoe hares. Snowshoe hares are like a primary resource or primary prey for a lot of the predators in this area, simply because unlike rabbits, hares do not burrow underground. They are always above ground all times of the year. That's what also makes it fun for hunting. It's just sometimes hard to pick them up, obviously, with their white coats. So what you want to look for, their ears. The ears have a bit of black in them. Their bottoms of their feet and their rump are usually a bit more of a yellowy color, and their eyes. Because usually whenever I see something that looks black and circular, you definitely want to take another closer look. Because it could simply just be the eyes of a rabbit looking back at you. So look around. The glossy black eyes are a big sign. Whenever I see something that looks like that, I then start looking for those ears. And once you got the eyes and the ears in sight, take your headshot. So yeah, so this area here, sometimes there's some rabbit activity. Yep. Looks like it's pretty old though. You can see there's some tracks down there. Goes around the bush here. Around the bush, but it doesn't look really new. Looks pretty old. It looks like he came going that way, but he started in that bush you see in front of me. Looks like pretty old track, so I doubt that the rabbit would still be there. But there you go, you can see some evidence. There's some poop, but really nothing fresh. And it's definitely snow covered in there. There's a bit more poop in there. Surprisingly, not a lot of eating. Get some more tracks going this way. But again, most of these tracks are old. But I have a gander. See if you can see something in here. My gun over here. Let's see if I can. Find a way through. Yeah, there's lots of activity in through here, for sure. It looks old. Looks a bit old. There you go. I can show you what it looks like when rabbits have been eaten. So yeah, so you know a rabbit's been here. You can see the tracks come through here. Take a look. You can see he's chewing on the bottom of that tree there, or the tree's exposed there. It does look like these tracks, there's a bit of snow on them, so probably from last night. Most hares usually feed at night, as they are more nocturnal creatures. But during the day, it's still fine. Although I do recommend, the best time that I found is usually right around in the evening. Right around 3 or 4 o'clock. Like I'd say within 2 to 3 hours of sunset. That's your prime time. That in the morning, but with my 2 young children, evenings are a bit easier. when you're hunting snowshoes, always take about a few steps and stop. Look around. It's always best when you're walking around trying to look for them that you see them before they see you. Which, for snowshoe hares, it's a lot easier said than done. So take a few seconds, look around. Don't make too much noise, but usually your footsteps will cause a few of them to maybe jump a little bit. Take a few hops. And that's what you're looking for. You either want to see them, which can be tricky, or you want to make just a little bit of noise with your footsteps. And the noise from your footsteps will make them start moving. And that's what you can start tracking. Like I said earlier, lots of deer activity. Got some deer tracks and some deer poop here. And he sees me. There he goes. Not quite yet. It's all good, dude. As you can see, lots of whitetail. There he goes. As I said, I've had a clear shot of him for quite a while. Too bad deer season's over. But, as you know, when you find a good spot, just come back next year, right? There he goes. He's out here. One of the nice things about when you're hunting for rabbits, you can smell the glass. You can come across some other critters. And the tree over there is a porcupine. So I'm thinking tonight I'm gonna bring myself home one of those. Because the nice thing about porcupines is they tend not to run. Usually it would stay still. So I'll work my way around. Try to get myself set for a headshot here. Enjoy. There you go. Porcupine time. Try and set ourselves up for a headshot. Right now I can see his tail. He stopped moving. Try to find his head. You see his head there. Sorry, buddy. Never saw the porcupine. Should be coming down any minute now. Wait for him to fall out of the tree. This thing with porcupines is you really want to make sure they're dead. You know? Because if they're not dead, you're on the risk of getting quilled. So I'm going to try my luck to get him down from the tree there, but he is officially dead. I'll do my best to get him down from the tree without quilling myself. Just gotta be careful. That's all you gotta do. Okay, so we got him down to the ground. I just used a big stick there to knock him out of the tree. And then I'm pretty sure he's dead, but for good measure, because you don't want to get quilled by these guys. Just give him a bit of a poke with your gun. Yeah, he ain't moving. I mean, I'm not surprised, but you can't be too safe with these guys. Because I can tell you, not from personal experience, but looking at videos, you do not want to get quilled. So I'm going to take this guy out, find a spot, try and take a video showing you how to skin these guys without getting quilled. All right, so I got him down to the ground. So one of the things you want to be careful of when you're using the porcupine, like it says quills. So this right here is the belly. I mean, there's no quills here. It's the back side that you really want to be careful of. So what we're going to do is, the first step is I'm going to be making it, oh, that's my rifle there. First step, what I'm going to do is make an incision across the belly here, and then I'll try and peel back the skin. I don't really have anywhere to set up a video, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skin this guy, and then we'll get back to you. All right, I call that a successful hunt. So here you're going to grab it by the inside, but there's the skin. We're going to be going home and pinning that to a board, and then trying to take off the guard hair, the fur, and the quills. I know a few people that could possibly use them, and a lot of natives use the quills in quill work. And the thing about quill work is that it's hard to come across a porcupine sometimes. It's hard to find the quills. So I'm going to do my best to harvest as many quills as I can off this animal. And I'll be posting another video later showing you that process. As for the guts, I'm going to keep them off screen for now, but the guts are all been taken out. I did my best to clean up the area. It to pick up any more loose quills, because the thing you got to remember, predator animals are going to find the remains, right? So the last thing you want to do is have quills by the remains, and then the animal comes to eat and they get quilled, and then the animal's going to suffer. So you got to do your part as a hunter. If you're going to be hunting some porcupines, in fact, I actually just found one here, you want to pick up as many of these as you can, and keep them for throwing away later. Simply, like I said, the last thing you want to do is to unfortunately hurt another animal because you were not responsible enough to clean up a porcupine. So the actual carcass itself is in my bag. I'm going to bring that home, have it in a saltwater brine to try and get out all the blood, and we'll be quartering that and having that in a new video. But yeah, there's not enough battery power on my phone, unfortunately. Couldn't get a video of me actually doing the skinning process. It took a lot longer than I expected, for sure, because unlike rabbits, their hide is actually a bit thicker. So rabbits, like, you can literally just peel it with your fingers. It's so small. But with a porcupine, I had to use my knife and cut it out. It was my first time doing that, so it turned out okay. Yeah, so more videos to come in the future, but hey, hey, first video posted, successful hunt. Cheers, folks. Okay, back home now. So I got this porcupine all cleaned up. Basically what you want to do is you just want to rinse it out of the tap, try and wash off as much of the blood as you possibly can. You also want to try and remove some of the membrane that you may have missed in the skinning process. And you can also have a chance to just pick off any of the exterior fat. Some people like to leave it on. I'm going to leave some of this on because of what I'm planning to do with cooking with it. But what you do is, after you're done rinsing it off, I mean, spend some time. Don't rush this step. I spent a good solid 5-10 minutes rinsing this thing off, because you want to get off as much of the hairs as you possibly can, get as much of the blood as you possibly can. And then I have this big container here. You fill it up with water, pop it in, and you use a couple handful, like a small little handfuls. Like you put a little bit of salt in there, and you have it sit in the salt water. And then with this, I just pop it in the fridge and let it sit in the fridge for 2 days in this saltwater brine. And then when it's done, you're ready to eat. It's a very simple process, thankfully. So I'll submit another video when we take this bad boy out of the fridge in 2 days, show you how to cut them up, and we're going to put them into a pot and we're going to stew them and make some pulled porcupine out of it. So stay tuned for that video. Thanks again, guys.